Hi, I'm Jeanette, and I know what it's like to have suffered from burnout. Do you know what that is? Burnout is when you become physically and emotionally exhausted. I didn't know of any strategies, tips, or hints that would help me to avoid life. It was simply life for me, and I'd love to share with you 9 tips on how to avoid getting burnt out. Number 1, you cannot pour from an empty cup. Your cup is your emotional cup. It's where you give your love, your support, your encouragement. It's where you listen. It's where you give your empathy. Make sure that you're taking a rest from time to time and that you're not always making yourself available. It's really important that you rest, replenish, and top up your emotional cup. Number 2, stop rushing around. Honestly, nothing will feel rewarding if you continue to rush around. Eventually, you will feel drained. Be selective about whose goals you support. In other words, be selective about who you say yes to. You know, one of the world's richest men said he says no to almost everything, and I think that's a wonderful clue. His name is Warren Buffett, and I try to be a little bit like him because maybe like you, I have a personality that wants to please and I say yes to a lot. Let's both of us make a confession today that we are going to say no to a lot more than we say yes to. Number 3, make sacrifices. Yes, but be careful of the sacrifices you make. As a mother, a parent, I've made sacrifices for my children. I've made myself available to my children. After all, we always say that children didn't ask to be born, and so therefore we do everything we can to support and to help them. We want them to have the best lives possible, and sometimes we put our lives on hold in order to facilitate theirs. Be careful about making sacrifices because we could be damaging them. What happens is that we need other people to learn for themselves. They need to develop resilience. They need to develop strength. And if we keep stepping in, then they'll put their workload on us rather than manage it themselves in future. So do be aware of that. Number 4, do what you enjoy. From time to time, recharge your batteries. This is a little bit like not pouring from an emotional cup. However, for this one, you take time out and do activities that are fun. When you do fun activities, you'll find that your energy levels will increase and rise. You get excited. It's fun to do. So do what you enjoy and be your best happy self. Tip number 5. Giving excess energy to children, yes, I'm talking about them again, can eventually turn out to be very unrewarding. I remember a story that Bushi Emecheta shared in her novel. I can't remember the name of the novel now, but I remember the story. It was about a mother who lived in an African village and gave everything sacrificially to her son. She was a lone parent and she made many, many sacrifices for him. He did really well. He got a wonderful education. And one day he got on the big bird, which is an aeroplane, and he flew away and left their village. She never heard from him again. Now, I hope that isn't the case for any of us. We wouldn't like to know that our children, who we've made sacrifices for and nurtured, would fly away, leave the country, and never think of us again. I remember in the novel, so many people were asking her, "How is your son? Have you heard from your son?" And people were lamenting, "Look at this. This is an example of a mother who gave everything and got no reward." Now, hopefully that's not you and that's not me. What we must do, though, is to recognize that we mustn't prioritize our children to the degree that we're not living lives ourselves. In other words, if you want to start a business or you have a venture that you want to move on to, get an education, there are still things you can do to move in that direction. You can go on university websites if you want to go back to study. You can have a look at the books they're reading. You can have a look at the study material and the resources. If you want to start a business, you can start planning it now. You could start looking into how that industry is going, where your place in the industry is, and how you're going to make your mark. So don't put all of your goals on a back burner simply because you have children. What can happen is, like the mother in the village, you may end up devastated when those children turn around and say they are not going to do the same for you at some point in the future. So do be aware of that. Number 6. Again, I'm talking about children, and trust me, I'm not anti-children. I have 2 adult children and I have 3 grandchildren so far, and I'm looking forward to welcoming any more grandchildren that come my way. Now, prioritizing your children's lives over your own can also make your life very stressed. You need to consider this. You may be filled with ambitions, okay? And because of that, you're putting your ambitions into your children. So you run around to various clubs and activities each day. I've been there. I've watched parents do it. I've seen how tired they are. I've tutored. I'm a former English teacher, and I've tutored children who were so tired that I had to nudge them to stay awake while I was tutoring them. Be careful. Choose strategically, should I say, strategically what you want them to learn to do. Have a strategy behind it. Don't indulge them in doing everything that they desire to do, because in the long run, it might not be the best for them. They could become exhausted and unhappy. So be careful of that. And also, you can get tired too as a parent, just running around, going to different clubs every evening, sitting in halls, sitting in corridors, sitting in your car. You could get really tired doing it. So make sure that you're not allowing yourself to get burnt out by facilitating for your children. Don't become anxious either. They will be fine, honestly. They can do different activities next year. They don't have to do everything this year, okay? Prioritizing your children over your life, that's a big no-no. Now, number 7. Number 7 is all about self-compassion. Do you know what that is? Self-compassion is something that I learned to do in my 40s. I'd never done it before. Self-compassion is simply loving yourself enough to prioritize yourself and to realize that you need to rest, you need to relax, you need to have fun, and you need to be comfortable within yourself. It's prioritizing yourself above others. It's speaking positively to yourself. It's me saying, come on, Jay, you can do this. Don't worry. Everything's going to be all right. You are okay, Jay. That wasn't your fault. You've made it through tough times before. You're going to make it again. That is self-compassion. And that was tip number 7. Tip number 8, don't copy society. You know what society does a lot of? I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. A lot of people like to tell us how busy they are. They love that because it makes them seem so super productive. Wow, they're having such amazing lives. They're so busy. My goodness, they're booked for various engagements. They need it here, there, and everywhere. Be careful of that. Be careful that you don't feel that you need to follow that example and that you need to be busy all the time. It's not a good thing. It's literally people wearing their badges of stress on their shoulders. They're literally wearing a stress badge. By walking around saying how busy they are, they're actually declaring that they're not prioritizing things in life and that their life is out of balance. Make sure you keep your life in balance and you keep your priorities in place. Number 9 and last, this is my final tip. Take care of yourself. It's really important. I've got a lovely confession for you for number 9. Number 9's confession is, today I will prioritize myself. How about that? I think that's a wonderful way to move forward. And that way you'll perform well, life will be good, and you'll have balance. Today I will prioritize myself. Let that be your confession. Bye for now.